I got to change this.
Nah, any way you want to put it, it works for me. I can hear you good. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
We're just going to roll with a conversation, talk shop. About halfway through, I have to do like a quick 30-second ad read, and then we're just going to just...
You got advertisers?
Well, I have my very first one, so hopefully it works out well in some capacity.
That's great.
Yeah, so make it awkward for 30 seconds in the middle there, but we'll bring you right back. But anyway, we'll keep this short and to the point, and you ready to roll in a second?
Oh, yeah.
Cool. I'm just going to bring you right on. Hello, and welcome to another episode of I Guess I'll Do It with Pat House, a mostly comedy podcast where I talk to all sorts of comedians and other creative people. Today, my guest I'm super excited to have, I've been a fan of my whole entire life. ESPN, NFL Films, Philly comedy radio legend. Today I have Joe Conklin here. What's up, Joe?
Hey, Pat. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How about yourself? What's going on?
Paxton Hollow legend.
Paxton Hollow legend. You know, I have that in my notes here because numerous times I have been behind the bar, and you have come in to do stand-up at an event, a fundraiser, whatever, and it's like, God damn it, I'm not even the most famous comic at my day job.
That's funny.
But yeah, that's happened numerous times.
It's a great spot. Yeah, it's right there, and that's considered Marple, I guess, right?
That absolutely is Marple Township. Yep, I've been doing stand-up and bartending there, both 20 years this year. Both.
Congratulations. That's great.
Yeah, I love both, man. I really do. Paxton's been very, very good to me, and comedy's slowly getting better every other decade.
Did you grow up there?
5 minutes away. Yeah, I'm from Springfield, Delaware County.
Oh, okay. So you went to Springfield High?
I went to O'Hara.
Oh, gotcha. You're a Catholic, not a publican.
Yep, I am a Catholic. What about you? Where would you go to high school?
I went to Doherty, which is also Cardinal.
Yep.
And do you know, have you ever been in the building of Doherty?
No, I want to say no.
It's the same exact building as O'Hara. It's the same tile, the same layout. It's obviously built by the same architect or whatever, builder. When I went into O'Hara for a show about 10 years ago, I was like, this is wild. So they're very similar in that respect.
Like how every outdoor mall shopping complex is now, they're exactly the same. All the exact stores, like the Forever 21 is next to this dumb restaurant. They're all formulaic.
And they both they both dumped a whole bunch of Irish Catholics in each building.
100%.
In different parts of the county.
Dude, I'm so glad to have you on because we've been buddies for a while. We've worked together many times over my career, but you were actually one of the earliest voices I've ever heard in comedy in general because my stepdad is a sports radio listener and grew up listening to you on 610 WIP, and he had your Conklin Christmas Classic CD. So I remember listening to that as a kid and hearing you on the radio. So believe it or not, even though I was watching, Letterman and SNL and all that kind of stuff, I was kind of familiar with your comedy even before that from just being in the car as a very young kid.
Making me feel old, dude.
No, it's praising the influence here.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So I want to, I really don't know much about your background in comedy here. So I would love to know what your comedy influences were when you were a kid. And I would love to hear about the very first time you did stand-up and how you got there.
Well, it all started for me with the voices and the impressions, That's pretty much my act. And I think you'd have to say I was a voice guy that had to learn how to be a comedian.
Mm-hmm. Who were you doing voices of? Were you making fun of your parents and teachers when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah, my neighbors, my uncles, I did, Howard Cosell, John Wayne, a couple celebrities, but people on the block, people in school, the nuns, the priests. I think I did my first, they used to put me up at company, we used to call it, at company, like at Easter and holidays when we had company in the house, when we go to somebody else's house. And I would do a handful of voices like Tennessee Tuxedo and Hogan's Heroes characters, Mr. Haney from Green Acres, the Dog Chow commercial. This is my first set.
Just doing it for friends and family in the living room?
Correct. So as I got older, I went into grade school, and then I was always doing this. Typical class clown, trouble a lot, just
Okay, so you were one of the ones who was a class clown.
without question.
It's like 50
Uh,
50 with my guests. I always get that out of comics, and I think it's 50 50. I didn't say a word in high
okay.
school, but I feel like a lot of comics, I would truly say it's split dead even between those who were class clowns and those who were like, people didn't even know my name in high school.
Introverted, yeah. I guess introvert, extrovert, maybe. Who knows?
Absolutely.
But I've always was. I'm one of seven, so maybe I was craving attention. Who knows? I would say there's some truth to
Are you
that.
the younger half of the seven?
Yes,
Then
I'm the
probably.
sixth of seven,
Oh, yeah, you're second rung on the ladder.
and they had this thing called the Catholic Charities Appeal Talent Show. It would come around in May. The choir would put on a show, and they would try to get people from the parish to come in the evening. It was a talent show. They had basically it was a lot of songs, woman playing the piano, and here comes Billy singing one. Now the choir with the chorus would sing some. So they went around from homeroom to homeroom asking if anybody had any talent for this talent show. And my buddies were raising my hand for me, and I said, all right, I'll go down. So they had this kind of audition, and I did a handful of impressions, and that was it for me. That's when everything started. I was in seventh grade, and they put me in the show. I did, believe it or not, I did some people that are still in my act. I did Bernie Perrant and Bobby Clark, Alfred Hitchcock, like I said, John Wayne,
Oh, that's awesome.
Dog Chow
And you're in
commercial.
seventh grade with this.
Yeah,
Man, you
yeah.
were a kid.
Yeah, the Flyers had just won two cups. Yeah, were winning the cups, and that was like I was doing sports comedy, sports voices. So I did it in the eighth grade also, and then it was kind of like a feel like I want to do this for my career as far as something with my voice.
Now, are you
And then
watching like Carson at the time, or like
not
are you
exactly.
taking in any stand up?
Not really. I was more interested in somebody like Rich Little.
Okay.
That was the unique situation where anybody that was doing voices, like, wow, this guy does this for a living. So at some point, I started thinking away from showbiz, and I didn't know if that could be a career or not. And they're asking about college, and I thought, well, I would like to be an announcer. I want to be a radio announcer. I want to be Harry Callis. So I knew I was going to go to Temple University because my parents our family really couldn't afford me afford to send me anywhere
Mm-hmm.
else. Um, so I had targeted Temple, and that's kind of what happened. I was going to be a sports announcer, and then senior year they had another variety show. I got back up on stage, and I hadn't been on stage since eighth grade, and I did all my stuff again, the voices, and then I started doing the PA announcing at Cardinal Doherty, just senior year at the basketball.
All right. So
And
now you have a microphone.
exactly, and I was creating some attention, and they did an article about me in the Daily News. The school, the sports guy Ted Solari used to write about the basketball team and the football team. So he came to one of the games and heard me doing Zinc Off and Dan Baker and Bill Campbell, and he wrote an article about me. So anytime something like that happens, it builds your confidence. So
Yeah.
well, this is great. I really feel like I can get a career out of this. On the way to the communications major, I'm taking these classes, and I don't know what was what, but I got a summer job selling pots and pans and fine china, and I went to Bermuda twice. So then it's like, and somebody got my ear and said, the money in the broadcast industry is in sales. So I was like, wow, I'm going to be in salesman. I'm going to be a salesman, and I'm going to be selling radio time because the on air stuff is a long shot. Well, I wound up getting an internship, which is the key to everything for my success. Um, Temple has this great program, and I mean, don't even go to college if you're not going to get an internship. I'll shout that from the
I
mountaintop.
went to Temple for communications
Okay,
as well. Yeah.
hopefully you got an internship
Dude, I
somewhere.
didn't do shit. I started bartending and doing stand up at 19, and I'll be 40 soon, and I'm still doing both.
Well, they had this program where I got an internship in the sales end of Channel 17. And so the path was set where I was going to interview for sales jobs when I graduated. I wound up getting a job in Trenton at a Trenton radio station, WKXW, selling airtime because it was kind of like a farm. A guy, the previous intern at Channel 17, he got hired there, and it was like a little pipeline for people to go to Trenton. It was a path. So I went up there, started selling. At the same time, right after college, I started doing stand up a little bit.
All right, let's stop
So,
there real quick. Where was your first set
sure.
doing stand up around the city?
The Capitol Plaza Hotel in Trenton, New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah, that was
it
my first set. It was New Year's Eve of 1984 into 85.
Wow. A New Year's
Yeah.
Eve open mic.
Well, it wasn't an open mic.
Oh.
It was a show, and they threw me up there as a guest, as a favor to somebody with the radio station. So it goes back to that. I mean, getting in the building at the station was the key to everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in the building, in the sales department, kind of pestering, sniffing around, the the normal setup. The morning DJ was like an MC guy at one of the clubs, and I was in his ear trying to get, telling him funny and things like that. And he greased the skids for me into Scarpati. It was a Scarpati room.
Oh, okay.
Cabaret. Yeah, one of his he used to have he had 15, at least 15 really, really good rooms at one time.
Wow. When I started, there was still 8 or 9.
No, he had. I think his first one might have been in Wilmington, called the Greenery or something like that. He also had Trenton at the Capitol Plaza. He had Doylestown and King of Prussia, all around the suburbs. But
Doylestown's still going strong.
Doylestown's a great room. They were all as good as that at one time. So that'll tell you what kind of empire he had.
Yeah.
He really had, and that was bigger than downtown. I mean, downtown was actually I shouldn't really say that. Downtown was great. There was 3 good clubs. There was 3 great clubs. There was the Works, the Outlet, and Going Bananas around the corner. And
okay.
Anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
So that was my first guest spot.
Now, how did that go? Your first?
It went okay. It was it wasn't. It was 5 minutes. I did well, I guess. But and then I pretty much lost my job. I quit the sales job and started kicking around. I was also a mobile DJ at the time. I started getting some club gigs there, trying to sneak my comedy into my DJ.
Okay, I think Jim Florentine was kind of doing the same thing. He was jamming Jim. He was a DJ. Would sprinkle his jokes in a set.
What a great act, DJ Jim Florentine. I don't talk about other comics. That's great. I miss him, man. I haven't seen him.
I haven't seen him in right before the pandemic. I saw him. We did the Stress Factory together.
Okay. So what the heck was I going to say? So a year goes by. The guy that I worked with in Trenton in sales has moved on to Philadelphia. He works at CAU, AM 1210. And he says, hey, man, you want to get together for a drink? Happy hour. Sure, I'll meet you out of City Line Ave Fridays. I go out there. We're hanging out. He brings a guy from the FM, 2 salespersons. he starts queuing me up to do some voices. I start doing voices. The guy said, we just hired a new morning guy on the FM. He's looking for somebody who does voices. Beautiful. I went home that night and made a tape up, little cassette, my handheld cassette, and I got it after I put on there Wilson Good, Rodney Dangerfield, Eddie Murphy. It was 1986. So it was, and the guy that they just got rid of Barsky in the
Barsky
morning,
in the
and
morning. Yep.
they hired Terry Young, the Motor Mouth. Terry Young took over, and they brought me in to audition, a live audition, on air audition, and it went okay. They said, you did pretty good today, kid. Why don't you come back tomorrow? So I came back tomorrow, and I did a few, and then it was like a couple days at a time, and then I was in there full time. And within 2 months, they had a contract for me because Terry was working without a contract, and he was bitching. They gave us both contracts. They gave him one for like $90,000, and they gave me one for 40. And I'm like, holy,
Yeah. Wow.
that was a great salary coming out of college at that point. I think when I was selling in Trenton, I was making about 16, maybe. It was like a draw against
Now you're getting
commission.
more than double that just to like be on air and do comedy.
just to be on this podcast.
Yeah, just
So anyway, those are just the numbers where. So that was it, man. That was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm on morning radio doing voices in Philadelphia, which is the fourth largest market in the country. It was crazy. I had a early success. Well, and then later that year, I'm in the Channel 10 building. Another thing about just being in the building, I'm in the Channel 10 building. You know where it is on City.
absolutely.
They had a show. They're starting a new TV show. They're auditioning people, and they said they were looking for some people while these TV types were auditioning, where they were looking for these people to be fake guests, like celebrities, just to see these guys work out. It's Sheila Allen Stevens, and and they said, oh well, let's pretend you're Jack Nicholson and Jim Ignatowski and things like that. And I did that, and I was on camera in front of management, and they said, we like this guy, we got to get him involved. So when the show started, they chose Matt Lauer from New York, Sheila Allen Stevens from their own stable of reporters, put this show together called Live on City Line, made me the on-camera announcer at the beginning of the show. Say, it's live, it's crazy, whatever. This is Live on City Line. Here's your host, Matt Lauer. Sheila. So now I got a TV job, a radio job. I just had a baby, too. This is 87 now, a year later. So within 2 weeks of that, no, that show lasted 3 months. And then they just canceled it. They said, it's not working out. And within 2 weeks later, they changed radio formats. So now I'm out of 2 jobs. And it's like boom, 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 boom. The shit hits you like one blow after the other. And I just had a kid. So
peaks and valleys, man. They never go away.
It's amazing. So now I'm hustling gigs at the clubs. Can I get a Tuesday night? Can we get a comedy night on Wednesday night? I'm trying to, that's when I started like being a booker a little bit, grabbing rooms here and just trying to make it, fill out the week and make ends meet. And then I just kicked around doing that until WIP came along, which that's a brand new format with sports. I thought it was a perfect matchup because I'm already doing sports material. I'm doing Harry Callis and the Flyers and all this stuff in my act.
Yeah, that's
in the tavern, on the tavern circuit. Do you remember? You don't remember a room in Ridley called the Friendly Tavern?
No, but I did stand up. There used to be a place called the Heritage Ballroom in Ridley. It was next to Barnaby's, and they had events there.
Yep. They also had a room on 30. This is Paul. Oh, that was Big Daddy's room, actually. Paul Solari was a dude that had a bunch of rooms.
Yeah,
And
I
it
did the
was.
Havertown VFW for him. Yeah.
Hold on for a second. There was on 30. There was John Barleycorns and another friendly. What was the Havertown VFW?
Oh man, I think it
I'm
was
not.
on Steel Road, but you just said John
Oh yeah, the
Barleycorn.
Steel. That's American
Yeah,
Legion.
American Legion.
I,
John
I did that
Barleycorn.
twice.
Wasn't that the is that a Traffic or a Cream record?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. You're right.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
Traffic.
Steve
John Barleycorn
Must
must
Die.
die.
Steve Winwood. Steve Winwood's band. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
I was like, where do I know that name from?
Well, it means booze. Um. Anyway. So what the hell was I? Where was I? Yeah. So I got a tape out to WIP when the sports talk came around, and that was Angelo and Brookshire, and nobody called me back. I sent 3 tapes out. About 6 months, I'm following up with phone calls, which is the rack, audition and resume tape. Audition and resume tapes, they used to call.
Man, was it
Anyway,
easier then now with that kind of stuff, sending tapes and making phone calls, or is it the internet made shit better with emails and YouTube and hey, here's my clip, it's in your inbox in 2 seconds?
oh, it's got to be easier
It's
now. I mean, I think the whole world. You know what? You're right. That's interesting about showbiz in general. With YouTube and with people being able, the only way you made it years ago was through Carson, and that was
I
it.
know.
Now you can get the guy on YouTube's the lead singer for Journey now,
Yeah.
right? So I mean, in that
It's
respect,
wild.
it's wide open. But yeah, I would say it's easier. But so you had to go through this, system where it was just tougher. It's tougher to get in front of people. Anyway, where the hell was I? So yeah, finally, somebody that my tape's laying around in a 6 inches from the wastebasket. It's laying on a table. A dude picks it. He's an afternoon producer. He puts it in, plays it. He likes it. He hears Harry Callis and Richie Ashburn. He plays it for Jody McDonald, who's the midday host there. I wasn't even going for that job. Jody hears it. He likes it. He calls me at home, and I start on his show as a caller. I called every Thursday at 2 o'clock and did 10 minutes, 3 voices, 3 impressions. People like Barkley, Jimmy Lynam, Bill Cosby, Johnny Mathis, whoever, and I did that for nothing for a year, just getting plugs out of it until the morning show started hearing me and replaying my stuff in the morning. And then that was the following year, was '93 when the Phillies went to the World Series. And when your teams are doing well, there's how the TV stations go nuts with the mania. We're out here and we have Phillies fans here. You see it now with the Eagles and the Phillies when they're back in. Channel 6 has 4 different angles of Eagles or Phillies when they're in the championship. Anyway, that boded well for me because I was doing Harry Callis. I was getting on little shots on the news. Anyway, they offered me a job on the morning show, and I signed up. I got a contract. I was there for 10 years, and left for 3 to go to MMR. Came back, and been doing it for like 35 years.
Awesome. Wow. What did you do when you went over to MMR?
We had a show called The Philly Guys. It was me, Mike Missinelli, and Vinny DeCroix.
Oh, Vinny.
You never heard of it? Yeah, yeah. The fact that you never heard of it is a testimony to why it's not on the air.
No,
they
okay.
They were actually, I found out later, they were really trying to get Preston and Steve, but Preston and Steve wasn't available yet. They're still Y100, and they were kind of a locomotive.
Preston and Maryland to start. Steve was one of my very first guests on this podcast. He was very helpful when I first started, and the fact that he has such a huge following with their radio show, and the fact that he was a stand-up, he was a great first guest. One of the first guests. Dude. Oh, absolutely.
Good dude too. Brilliant, right?
So yes, he's so smart. He can pull out not just a fact, but like a random true fact and a joke so quickly with just such an obscure, insane, off the wall reference.
Yeah, he's a unique dude and very talented. And they were both very nice to me when I transitioned out of
Well,
there.
it's kind of,
But
is radio like stand up? Like, I mean, you're still all family and it's a small world.
yeah, it is in the long run, but it's not. And I don't know, radio's different now because so many. There's only like two companies, and there's like seven stations under this company and seven stations under
Yeah,
that one.
Beasley and
So
then something else.
yeah, it's a lot less. In the old days when there were 20 different companies, they used to they used to kind of, I don't know, convince you into going to going to war, against your rival station, and winning was everything. But that was for management, really. I mean,
Like a Howard Stern, John DeBella thing?
they, oh, of course,
Yeah.
that was right when I
Oh,
started.
so you were right in the middle of
Crazy.
all that. Well, not in the middle of it, but on the front lines for it, front row seat.
Without question, it was '86, I believe, when that happened. When Stern came to the market, Terry Young would talk about him and stuff, and we weren't even a blip on the radar there. That was Stern versus DeBella was the king. He had it for like 3 years, 83, 84, 85, 86, something like that. He owned Philadelphia. Howard came in and just, slit his throat. It was all over.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So yeah, I started in '86, and I was, I was on the air in that, but we were just bystanders. That was just those two stations. But to get back to, yeah, it's a small community. I mean, used to be more competition when it was about station pride. I think when the conglomerate, or when the merger started happening, you realize how corporate it is, and there are a lot fewer jobs started disappearing because it's all the same company, and then you got more camaraderie. I
Yeah.
think because you're just trying to
Yeah.
survive.
It's almost like Alan Havey had a great quote about stand-ups. He goes, we're all in this together, but we're all out for ourselves, but we're still all in this together. Thought that was, yeah.
Correct.
For stand-up,
Correct.
radio might not be the exact same thing, but it's a small world, and it is a tight-knit, can be tight-knit community.
Yeah, because when you're at Temple, I don't know. Did you work at the radio station at all,
Nah, I
or
didn't do anything.
you were in communication? You didn't do
Nah,
anything.
I was going out. Honestly, I started doing stand up when I was 19, and I was out doing open mics 6 nights a week. Like, I just dove right into stand up.
Wow.
I went to
Okay.
class.
Well,
I
you
worked
could
in the box office at Helium, so I had a job in a comedy club, and I was doing open mics every single night. So I wasn't giving a shit about my education.
couldn't you match that up with your education at all?
Yeah, that's a long story. Kinda.
In retrospect,
I tried, and it didn't quite work out. But I mean, I realized I just dove right into stand up when I was in college. Like, I enjoyed college and had fun, but I just put everything into stand up. I still did okay in college.
Okay.
It was like second or third on my priority list.
Gotcha.
So since you've made a career out of these voices and stuff, who's been the easiest target? Like, who's what character, or not even character, voice, I shouldn't say is your favorite. Like, over the course of your career, who has been the first one that like come to your mind, or be like, oh, he did it again? Like, is someone make themselves a target for you?
Well, I've had the most success with my best impressions. Like Harry Callis is probably my signature over
Mm-hmm.
the years. Um, you want something like that. That's one that you can do well. That immediately will turn ahead, and if people hear it on stuff like him on the live mic was just so great because it sounded like
Oh,
him.
absolutely.
Pretty much say anything, and it was so recognizable.
Absolutely. He used to live in either Springfield or Media, because I used to see him at Sproul Lanes when I was a kid. And I remember bowling next to him and his son, and it was just weird to hear that voice next to you naturally, like in your.
Oh, pick up that spare.
Exactly.
So might have seen him over at John's Boardwalk Tavern, or the old gin mill on Old State Road, and a number of other tappies up towards the reservoir. But Harry was great. So targets wise, It's funny. What the first show I was on, Reagan was the president when I started, and we had the president's always a target. We had Reagan. I don't know if you remember the sinking houses of Logan. There was a story on up in Logan on Roosevelt Boulevard where these houses all were sinking, and they had to demolish them all. And I don't know why we put Reagan on it, but Reagan was one of my characters, and I had a line. I said one of my first jokes on the radio. Well, now you know what happens if you try to build a house on an ash hole, or you should never build a house on an ash hole. Yeah, it was a creek that was filled. It was an old creek. They put ash in. Anyway, I don't know how we got there.
Let me tell you guys about Magic Mind. Like most comics, like most people, I struggle with being productive, just sitting down and getting the work done when I need to. Luckily, the great folks over at Magic Mind have just the thing to help. Magic Mind is a great little drink that boosts energy and focus. I typically have it either after my morning coffee or in the afternoon when the coffee starts to wear off. These little bottles of Magic Mind are perfect for at home or on the go anytime you need calming energy and a boost. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. There's an ingredient in it called lion's mane mushroom, which reduces anxiety while also stimulating the brain for better energy and less stress. Magic Mind is great. I use it every day, and you can get 1 month free when subscribing for 3 months. Just go to www.magicmind.com/Jan. Do it. That is www.magicmind.com/Jan. Do it. Type in the promo code DOIT20, all caps. DOIT20, all caps. I'm recommending it to you. I use it all the time. Make sure you check out magicmind.com/Jan. Do it 20 and use the promo code DOIT20 for 1 month free when you subscribe for 3 months. Have you ever had anybody take offense to one of your impressions of them?
Yeah. Ricky Waters, the old Eagles running back, he wanted to throttle me. Somebody said you shouldn't show up there because Ricky's up there and he's after you. He wants to
still.
No. This was at the time. This is the late '90s.
I was going to say this. I was just going to say mid to late '90s. Yeah.
Yes. We had a lot of fun.
What did you say about Ricky? Was it his voice, or would you make fun of him?
Fun with Ricky, like for what? I used to have this one joke where his wife was Asian. By the way, we could never get away with half the shit we said on the air years ago.
I'm sure.
Yeah, all the ethnic is over. You can't say anything like that. But he had an Asian girlfriend that got in the face of John Gruden, the offensive coordinator at the time for the Eagles, publicly screaming at him because Ricky didn't get enough touches. So we used to always do her in the background. It's like, I have I'm changed now. I'm married. I got a girlfriend. We got twins. We got 2 babies. We named them for who? For what? Famously, for who, for what? Comments years ago.
Did he ever say anything to your face, or is this just all something you heard through the grapevine?
Grapevine. Yeah. But then I met Dick Vermeil. I remember. I don't know if you remember when they were going to hire him for the Eagles before he took the Rams job back around the same time period. Dick Vermeil got back into football. He had been retired for a good 10 years.
I do remember he was doing the Blue Cross Blue Shield commercials.
Sure. And he had a famous quote. The Eagles kind of screwed him. And he said, I was promised this job on 3 different occasions. And I'm not going to get down on my frickin' knees and beg Jeffrey Lurie to coach this frickin' football team. So we ran with that. We had Eagles, welcome the Eagles, the frickin' Eagles talk with Dick Vermeil. Welcome to frickin' Eagles. So we had frickin' this and that. So I met Vermeil at a banquet, the Maxwell Club banquet. I went up and introduced myself. I said, "How you doing, Dick? I'm Joe Conklin. I'm the guy that's been imitating you on the radio." "Oh, I know who you are. You got that frickin' part down pretty good, don't you?" So he was all taken. And a handful of older guys, but Ray Rhodes. Ray actually liked me, but Ray,
Ray Rhodes, the coach right before Andy Reid, right?
correct.
Yep.
And Ray had used profanity profusely. Let's say he had a horrible, and he would curse at his press conference, which carried on the radio. They had to start blipping him and delaying him because he was so nuts with the curses. He had a rant one time. He says, something about you got to look at the other team, like they're gonna break in your house and rape your wife and children. This is true. You can look that up. He
Jesus.
he said, and then he said, what do you mean, Ray?" And they clarify that it's like, yeah, you got to look at that other team like they're gonna sodomize your kids and your wife.
Jesus.
Double down. So I used to do this thing every banquet I was at. I was saying, "Well, again, like I said, well, again, that last loss really hurt me. It hurt deep down inside of me." Did I say something? So he comes up to me before this thing at the Adams Mark, one of the banquets, and he says, "Hey, man, do me a favor, man. Lay off that side of me shit. My bad." So it was great.
Well, that's cool. He didn't tell you to take it off the table completely. Just, hey, could you do me a favor tonight and not say this? But like, yeah, no problem.
No, he was totally cool. He's a good guy. He liked the ponies at the racetrack, but he didn't. Ray was, yeah. Well, he was a hitter. He was a safety, I believe, in the old NFL, like in the '70s. I think he played for the Giants, and he probably was a little, had his bell rung a lot. He used to use smelling salts on the sidelines to wake himself up, or to
wake himself up.
I swear to God, there's a story with Ray and smelling salts. I don't know the exact details, but he would carry around smelling salts to revive to get himself going.
I've just never heard of anybody doing that for themselves. That's now sometimes, like when we're on stage as comics, we're just on autopilot, right? We know what bit we're doing, we know what bit we're doing next, we know what's coming after that. Have you ever been so in the zone you have done an impression but did somebody else's voice? You ever said, "Hey, this is Harry Callis," and then you did Allen Iverson, or like have you ever just fucked up while being on autopilot?
I've definitely been on autopilot. I have not done what you just said. But I remember, and I still get confused on this, when you do more than one show a night.
Oh yeah,
it's brutal because you don't know what you did yet, and I don't know if I've repeated myself. Like, did I do that? Yeah, I definitely said a couple times, more than once, saying, get in the middle of the bit and saying, "Did I do this already?" And sometimes it's yes, we just heard that, or no, we don't know what you're talking about.
A couple times, like with COVID, a lot of comedy clubs, they were limited capacity, so sometimes you would do 3 shows in one day, and I remember being on that third show so many Saturdays and being like, "Oh my God, I already did this on the show," but I didn't. But man, doing the same thing 3 times in one day for 35, 40, 45 minutes, I was like, it really rocks your head, man.
Yeah, no question about it. So the autopilot thing. Now, I've never gotten really confused like that. I don't know but I'm sure something like that has happened.
Oh, of course, we've all had all sorts of fuck ups on stage and whatnot. So I was looking at your YouTube today, and I totally forgot about that Lenny Dykstra roast.
Oh, dude, I wish you could.
All I did was watch Mitch Williams and Lenny Dykstra go back and forth, and I was like, I have to watch this whole thing later.
Oh,
was it awkward? You were sitting right next to Lenny. I mean,
Yeah,
well, two.
one
You
of
were
the was the worst gig I ever did in my life was when I opened for Leon Redbone at the Chestnut Cabaret. I believe it was '88.
like, come and get your love, Redbone.
No, that's Redbone. Leon Redbone was a guy that sang old fashioned songs
Oh,
from the '20s.
well, I had the Redbone part right.
Yeah, you got it. Wait a minute, come and get Redbone. Sing that song that you just said.
Come and get your love. He was the only Native American artist to have a hit.
Oh my God, that's right. Um,
And it's recently in like a truck commercial for like Dodge or
oh,
Ram.
it was a big hit. I mean, it's very recognizable. I just
But it's
can't.
in a commercial now. I can see the video when he was on Bandstand or something. Yeah.
Leon Redbone used to do SNL at least a handful of times. I want to be seduced. This bud's for you. Bum, bum, bum. He did a Bud commercial. He was like an old time. I want to Amos, there's no one to talk to, all by myself. Anyway, he's like a cult following type guy. He was actually lived locally in New Hope. Long story short, he was a very big middle act, let's say. I opened
Nah,
for
I got you.
I had to do 15 minutes, and I opened with Gary Heidnick material because it was fresh, and I wanted to be cutting edge, and they weren't ready for that. The dude just it just came out. You know who Heidnick is, right?
Yes.
Okay, all the shit he did with the torture in the basement and
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff, and I just lost the crowd immediately, and I never got them back. And I didn't want to bail because I was afraid I wasn't going to get paid, because that was always the rule. You didn't do your time, you don't get your whole $40 or whatever.
Stick that. I feel like that was the first rule I ever heard in stand up is stick to your time.
Yeah. So I had to stay there. They're screaming and yelling at me. I think I got something thrown at me. It was just and that was the one gig that I decided, well, I think I can invite my family out to this one after I had been doing comedy for about 6 months. Not a good night for the whole family. And anyway, I only say that because the second worst night was the Dykstra uh, Mitch Williams roast, just because everything that could have went wrong went wrong.
Oh man, I got to rewatch the whole thing. I just watched the clip that you have on your YouTube channel, which I haven't seen in years. And man, they are going at it, and both of them are slurring their words.
Well, I'm not effective, so I don't drink when I perform. But that night I started drinking because I was running it, and nothing was going right. And I remember I was probably about 4 beers in by the time the thing was over. Not that that's drunk, but it's certainly not at your optimum.
Yeah.
But it was at the Electric Factory. It's a very rough venue. It's a dance concert venue. It's not an auditorium.
Oh, I've performed there.
Yeah, if you perform there, you probably open for like a punk rock group or something.
It was Greg Giraldo and Bill Burr.
Oh, okay.
But it was sad accordingly, and it was ended up being really nice actually.
Well, yeah, because they were coming for comedy, which always helps.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were coming for here. That was our probably our second or third Philly sports roast, which wasn't a bad idea, but the fifth year we had a great year. After that, we had Eskin and Cataldi, and then we had Pete Rose. And a week before that happened, it comes out that he was he was screwing 14-year-old girls that were being sent down the so we had to cancel the whole thing.
Oh,
it was brutal. Anyway, that night with Dykstra, he probably is the worst human I've ever had to deal with. He was demanding these, extra hotel rooms in the afternoon that day at the last minute. You don't show. If I don't show up, man, you don't have a fucking show. You know that? You got nothing. Man, without me. You don't even have a fucking event, man. I was like, whatever. It was horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah. Is he clean again, or is he still?
If he's alive, he's a mess.
He's alive. I know that.
I wouldn't I don't see any redeeming value, and he's the worst person I think I know. Uh, but I don't really know him. But worst person I've ever dealt with.
Wow.
Just just filthy, horrible. I mean, read a little bit about Lenny Dykstra. It's
Oh,
just
I absolutely have. Um,
yeah.
so as a Philly sports fan, what's your favorite team in Philly sports history? Any sport, any year? What team? What era
Oh
brought you the most joy as a fan?
God, I have to say, well, the old Phillies from '80 was when I became, that's when I grew into being a fan. The '80 championship was the best because when they won the World Series, I rode up Broad Street. I jumped on top of an ambulance. I got my way all the way back to Olney without driving, just hopping on cars and stuff.
That's
So
so cool.
that was my team, and I'd have to say, other than that, I love the Buddy Ryan teams with that ferocious defense with those two safeties, Wes Hopkins and Andre Waters. I mean, how are you going to beat that? I mean, nobody hit like that, and the linebackers, they were just that defense was just unbelievable. So
Awesome. I it's hard for me to answer, but I think because baseball was life when I was a kid, the '93 Phillies are probably my like just
that's what.
embodies so like when you're a 10, 11-year-old boy, baseball is everything.
Oh, and the dude should have got MVP. It would have gotten MVP if the Phillies won. I mean, he was a monster. Obviously,
That was part of what Mitch and Lenny are going back and forth with.
yeah. And you got to go to the bat rack, man. You get up the bullpen, people are running for the bat rack, dude. Yeah, but that year, I agree that I don't know how they lost that. Well, I know now.
Oh, I do too. So there's a Helium Comedy Club here in Philly. There is
Sure.
a Helium in Buffalo, and I have a friend that lives up that way who's a huge Blue Jays fan. And a few months ago, I was at that Helium, and it's behind me. You can't see it, but he is a huge baseball fan, and he goes, "Hey man, I got something for you." And then he gave me a autographed Joe Carter picture from 1993 of Joe with his hands in the air rounding
Oh,
the bases. And
oh,
one, I was like, fuck
brutal.
you. And then two, I was like, that is a great gift. All right, I'm going to let you go here in 1 second. I do have one more question for you. I love talking to my friends, talking shop. My friends are all hilarious, and I love talking stand up and getting to the nitty gritty of it all. But I would love to hear a story of a hell gig. Do you have any gig in the back of
Oh,
your mind?
I just gave you two.
Oh, I did. I mean, I was talking about you performing, you doing stand up where it did not go well.
Yeah. Well, the Leon Redbone was the worst with the Gary Heidnick material. That's my worst
You
hell
do.
gig. I'll give you. There's so many. I
Of
mean,
course, we all have numerous gigs where you were like, "Holy wow!"
I did a job at Prospectors up on Route 38 in Mount Laurel. You ever hear of that place? It's in Jersey. Anyway, I don't even know if it's still there. It might be there. It's a country and Western bar. And it's a big place. It's a big restaurant complex. They have a lot of country dancing there. Well, one time they had comedy night. I don't know if they've had it ever since. And that's the worst thing about comedy is people think you can throw it up anywhere.
That people think anywhere, anytime.
It just doesn't work. So the seating was bad. Of course, there's a big noisy bar right next. I don't even know if we were in the bar, adjacent to the bar, not far from the bar. Audience was kind of noisy. It was a bad setting. Somehow, I don't even know what else was going on, but I just remember I had a heckler, and some people like hecklers. I don't like them. They just throw you off. It's just not.
Nope.
It's not good.
It's not fun
Unless
for the crowd. It's not fun for the paying crowd
no,
either.
unless you have like a heckling place there, people are used to it, and it's almost like sport there. Now, I've known a few clubs where that is the case. Betty's Fireside up in North Jersey was one like that, where it was part of the crowd and it was a sport, and you had to, if you walked into that blind, you would get eaten alive, but you had to realize that you're going to have people cheering on other hecklers and shit. So that was
Ugh.
a rough gig too. One of my many. But to get back to the hecklers, you got to have have support from the club to take care of this guy, shut him up somehow, because you can't walk off stage and literally carry somebody out or tell somebody to leave.
Manhandle them into place.
I mean, you need somebody from the restaurant to say, dude, you got to shut up or you got to leave. And that wasn't the case. And this guy just just ruined it for people next door. So yeah, I eventually lost the crowd, and it was just horrible. But I don't drive past that without remembering that awful.
Oh, there are places around Delco where I have not even remember like childhood memories that I'm not fond of, but like bad shows. Like, oh man, I may have got beat up on that playground, but I ate shit at that bar, and that stings more.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, Joe, plug all your social media here. Where can everybody find you?
JoeConklin.com. I have a bunch of shows coming up. Working with an orchestra now. We got the orchestra show at Westchester University the end of January. It's it's kind of like my act put to music. It's a salute to the Philly sports fan. We're doing it again in February at the Broadway Theater in Pittman, New Jersey.
Okay.
And we got a couple of regular stand-up shows at a Catholic school near you. St. Denis in Havertown, and then Holy Rosary up in Plymouth.
Okay, and I saw St. Anastasia, too, is on your calendar. That is 2 seconds from Paxton Hollow. That is all my childhood territory.
Never leave Delco alone.
Not at all. All right, Joe, thank you so much for being here, man. It was great to talk shop and get your backstory. I hope we work together at some point in 2024 here.
All right, Pat. Thanks, bud.